Bottle A contained 4 times as much water as bottle B at first. After 12 liters of water was transferred from bottle A to bottle B, there was an equal amount of water in both bottles. How much water was there all together? Now, let's take a look at the whole story again. So if you notice, this is like a before change after scenario, okay? Because whatever they give you, this is your before, and the change is there is a 12 liters of transfer, and in the end, they say there's an equal amount of water. All right. Now, so then this will come to your mind. Should I be applying before change after, or should I be applying model method? Now, in previous concepts, I think we have discussed this before. When we have units given in the before and we have units given after, usually, typically, we will draw model to solve the question. Okay, so when you have imagine if you do before change after, then you end up having a model in the before, you end up having a model in the after, which is not so ideal for you to see how to compare what stays the same throughout. Okay, it's relatively more difficult to solve the question because then the only value you have to work with is the 12 liters, and you have two models in the before and after. It's hard to do the comparison. All right, so we are just going to rely on one model alone, like the purely model method alone to solve this. Okay, so since you are relying on model method, please draw it larger, draw it bigger. Okay, so let's begin with 4 times. Bottle A contains 4 times as much water as bottle B. So 4 units for A, 1 unit for B. Okay, now they say 12 liters of water is transferred from A to B. At this point, okay, when we do the transfer, of course, we have to shade off some from A and then move it to B. Okay, that is how we show the transfer. Now, however, at this point, I wouldn't be sure as to how I know where to indicate the 12 liters. Okay, because I don't know how big is 12 liters at this point. So then this is where you have to read on. If you read on, you will know that in the end, both bottles should have equal amounts. Okay, so what it means is that if you look at your okay, some of you, I think you can't really visualize well. So what you can do is you can imagine, let's say I treat 1 unit as 12 liters. If I bring down 1 unit, will they be equal in the end? They wouldn't. Okay, so you need to see that if I bring it down, this will be 2 units, this will be 3 units left. They are not equal. Now, what if I bring down 2 units? Can 2 units be the 12 liters? No, because if I bring down 2 units, then become again it's unequal. They are not the same. You want them to be the same in the end. If I bring down 3 units, even worse, cannot also. Okay, so then most of you would have realized that, oh, I actually need to cut the model at this point such that I bring like 1.5 unit down so that they will be equal to each other, which is very true. So in this case, actually, the whole idea is if you look at the difference of 3 units here, the original difference here, 4 minus 1u. The difference of 3 units because it's an odd number. Okay, because it's an odd number, hence you can cut each unit into 2 smaller units. All right, so if you cut it this way, then you realize that you see your cutting point here, this is where you bring down, you shade off your 12 liters and carry it down. Remember to shade, remember to bring it down, and remember to use dotted lines to extend bottle B. All right, so some of you, maybe if you find that this is very confusing, or how do I know, I have to keep remembering the fact that I have to find the original difference, decide if it's odd or even number, and then to cut or not to cut, all right? So it's okay, let's say if you don't use this logic, it's fine because most of the time you will be able to tell that, okay, this is your cutting point, and this is the point that I have to shade off as my 12 liters. This is fine also, you can do it this way. Now, but of course, then naturally from there, once you cut this 1 unit into 2 parts, you're going to do the same for the rest as well. I mean, okay, so this is like subsequently what you have to do also. Okay, I should try to cut this equally. So you see, subsequently, this is what you end up doing as well. Okay, it's just that you are cutting this point first and you identify this as your 12 liters first before you went on to cut the rest. Okay, so the one that is shown in this logic here, they are just using odd and even difference logic to proceed to cut everything. All right. Okay, so I will just erase what I have here. So like I said, what I have done here is fine also. Okay, this is probably the more natural way for some of you. Okay, so yes, each unit cut it into two small parts, and the last three small units here will be the 12 liters that you transfer it down. Can you see now that you cover this away? You can use your hand to cover this, and you realize that the whole of bottle A and the whole of bottle B is now equal amounts of water now. Okay, and this will be your 12 liters, of course. All right, and from there, it's pretty simple. You just need to work how many units is your 12 liters. As we can see, 3 units is 12 liters. So from there, we find 1 unit. Okay, once you found 1 unit, read the question. They ask you how much water was there all together. Okay, now all together means everything. Okay, everything at first. Now, if they're asking, some of you might be thinking, oh, are they asking for everything at first or everything in the end? Now, it doesn't really matter because this is an internal transfer question. Meaning to say it's a transfer between A and B. So the total at first and the total in the end would be the same, right? There's no difference anyway. All right. So now you decide if you want to work with at first, then you count all the at first units. If you want to work with in the end, then you count all the in the end units. Okay. The reason why I say that is because some of you might end up counting everything that you see here. But don't forget, these 3 units is the same as these 3 units here. You should not be counting these 2 sets of 3 units twice. You should only count one of them. Okay, so let's just be clear. Okay, let's just maybe stick with counting at first. All right, or maybe it's easier to count in the end. Okay, so if you count in the end, maybe let's use in the end. So if you count in the end, then it will be this part. Okay, the one that I boxed up. Can you see in the end is your 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I do not count this because this one already is brought down to here. It's the same thing anyway. Okay, so there are 10 units that will be your all together. Yeah, okay, so the already boxed up in blue here. So 10 units will be your 4 times 10, which is 40 liters.